Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Shamima Begum was my constituent. She fled to Syria in 2015, along with 2 other girls, after she was groomed and radicalised, mainly online, and influenced by a former classmate who'd left earlier on. And at the time, as the Home Secretary will be aware, although the police were working under enormously difficult circumstances, one of the errors that was made was that the letters that were sent by the police for interviewing the girls were sent to the girls instead of their parents. The police subsequently apologised for the error that was made. They were minors at the time. They hadn't committed crimes at the time when she fled. I recognise, and especially from what she said in the media, at the abhorrent views she now holds and that she has been radicalised. But that said, no child should face the punishment of the sins of their parent. In this case, the child that died, Shamima Begum's child. And I do disagree with the Home Secretary's decision to rescind her citizenship, given that it makes her stateless, given that the Bangladeshi authorities do not recognise that she has citizenship of that country. But that said, Mr. Speaker, the protection of our communities and our national security has to be paramount. And I just wanted to flag up some of the issues my constituents have raised, because that's what's required in terms of deep thinking about how we deal with these sorts of issues. People are very concerned about the oxygen of publicity this case has gained and the abhorrent views that have been allowed to be peddled in our media day in, day out. They're worried about the repercussions and the backlash from far-right groups. I've already had cases where people have been attacked, innocent people who happen to be Muslim. Those are the issues we have to reckon with and deal with. And they are very concerned that if people are returned, which they should be, given the debates about nationality, they need to be prosecuted and face the full force of the law. But if they are returned into their communities, there is a massive challenge in us dealing with the backlash and the community, the localities, not just in my constituency, but in other cases, if there are returnees, that our constituents become become vulnerable to attacks from the far right and other religious extremists and unhelpful media attention. While people are trying to get on with their lives. So I ask the Home Secretary once again, can he please work with the Foreign Secretary to work with our allies in other countries to come up with a long-term solution to address those who are in conflict regions so they don't find clandestine ways to return to our country and create more insecurity and more danger to people's lives.
Mr. Speaker, I listened very carefully to what the Honourable Lady has had to say, and as she has referred to herself, sadly she's had a number of her constituents that are known to have gone to Syria to join Daesh or perhaps other terrorist groups, and I can absolutely understand the concerns that will raise in the community, and she's touched on some of those. And she might be interested to know I went recently to visit a Prevent panel in Tower Hamlets to see some of the excellent work that they're doing, working with many members of the community, working to safeguard what are some vulnerable young people, not just from groups like Daesh, but also, as she's mentioned, from far-right extremism as well. Look, Mr. Speaker, the Honourable Lady has said a lot, and I listened carefully, and I'd be very happy if it's helpful to her to meet with her later and to discuss some of those issues in more detail.
Mr. Phillips.